Hello, Chris.
Hi.
Thanks for taking the time to discuss a bit with us.
Okay.
So you're in charge of Europe for Papaya Mobile?
That's right. I am sitting in an office in Old Street, just off Silicon Roundabout, in the city of London. And from here, we run the Papaya European HQ. So yes, that's me.
Great. So can you present to the French audience that maybe don't know Papaya what it's all about, the company, and where you come from?
Sure. We're a Chinese company. So we were founded in Beijing a number of years ago. And what we're all about, and what we've always been about, is about monetization and discovery. And that's always been the main drivers to any of the products that we have had at Papaya. And it's interesting because I've been in mobile games for a very, very long time. I'm old enough to remember the jars and the jads and all those sorts of things. And it's funny that even though the platforms can change and even though the players can change to some extent, developers are always facing the same problems. So it's about finding users and it's about making money from those users. And that was the case when we were talking to mobile networks in 2004 and 5 and trying to get into feature games on games portals in the good old days. And it's the same now. And what we're focused very much on Europe at the moment is Appflood. And Appflood is our platform, which is about advertising, it's about mobile advertising, it's about driving users, it's about monetization, and that's what we're doing here at Papaya in Europe.
All right. So what are the specificities of Appflood that you just launched? What is different from other kind of networks that I guess everyone knows in the mobile space, like InMobi, Millennial, or even Chartboost, specialized in some vertical?
Sure. It's a great question, and I think that one of the things we're seeing in mobile advertising at the moment is there's a huge amount of fragmentation. And that fragmentation manifests itself in the platforms themselves. It manifests itself in the advertising platforms. It manifests itself in SDKs. I mean, if one goes and has a look at the report that you can get on the list of SDKs that appear in any particular game, you know, there are tens and tens and tens of SDKs from analytics, from advertising, from things that stop the crashing, from graphics, a whole lot. And so at the moment, what we're in is a hugely, hugely complicated period in mobile. And what that means is that lots of partners are running around trying to differentiate themselves and trying to say, okay, this is where we think the industry is going, this is the path we want to take. Appflood is an ad platform, it's an advertising platform. And as I've said already, we're about user acquisition and monetization, but it does a couple of really, really cool things. So the first thing is that we're 100% transparent. Lots and lots of ad networks will treat it almost like a black box. You know, here's our ad network, you put something in one end, you get something out the other, and you have no idea what is going on in the box itself. At Appflood, we've sort of taken a torch, lifted the box up, and shone a light into it. And so we're transparent. Why? Why does that matter? It matters because it means that you, as a publisher or an advertiser, start to have control over who sees your advert and where your advert goes. And that is really, really important because it means you can start to tune the results that you get. So you can say, you know what, I don't particularly want my advert to appear in these publishers' games or these publishers' applications because it's not really where I see it working. Or I particularly want to get inventory from these sources. So we lift the black box out and we say, look, this is our world, and it gives you the power to tune it. That's one of the things that we do. The second thing is once you have that transparency, you can then start doing things like direct deals. So you can then turn around and say, you know what, I'm a developer and I can see all this inventory out there and I want to do a deal with that person, that person, that person, and that person. And using the Appflood platform, you can reach out and do those direct deals. And that's something that's also hugely important because, again, it means that you just know what's going on with your marketing. And then the third thing, and I think this is all-encompassing, it's something we try and do with everything at Appflood, is that it's a one-stop platform. And so we work with the majority of the tracking SDKs. We work with ad mediation services. We work with any number of the parties out there to make sure that actually what you need to do is to get yourself integrated with Appflood. We'll make it very, very easy, and then go off and monetize or get users. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, what we're about.
All right. So what is your business model? You take a cut of the money that is exchanged between advertisers and publishers?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think that's important. And again, it's important to be transparent about it. We have to show, where the money is going. So yes, we take a commission. We take a commission of transactions. And the beauty, as with any of these sorts of deals, is we only take a commission when it works. And so it's a win-win for everybody.
All right. You mentioned that your solution was open to work with a third-party tracking solution and as well as mediation tools. So, for instance, if I am a publisher, how can I plug my inventory through your solution? Do I have to install your SDK? Is it mandatory? Or I can just take your, tag and put it in my mediation tool, whatever it is?
Yeah, again, it's all about flexibility. So you can use an SDK. If that's the route that you want to go down, you can use an SDK. Well, we can also do server-to-server integrations. From an advertising perspective, we also use the majority of the tracking solutions out there, whether it's an AdX or a Has Offers or whatever. So again, in that respect, what's really, really important in this fragmented world is to make it as easy as possible with as many solutions as possible.
All right, great. What about ad units? Are you trying to innovate and trying to launch new ad unit, or are you working with the basics, banners and interstitial and maybe some of others?
It's a great question. I mean, of course, we cover all the standard bases for ad units, but we're also working sort of ahead of the curve in terms of the ad units that we think will be important in years to come. I mean, one of the things that we can offer, a custom integration is really where we throw open the black box, so to speak, and say, you can do whatever it is you want. You can integrate it in a particular way. You can make it. You can actually sort of wire it into the interfaces that you have within the application or the game, so it feels much more seamless. I think that is an area where the industry is still in such baby steps. We're beginning to see some other significant players out there adopt video advertising in news feeds and things like that. And I think we're going to be looking back in a year or two's time and just seeing this huge explosion in the market. And that's opportunities for all of us. Okay.
As you know, RTB is changing the display world on the desktop. How do you see the evolution of RTB in your business, in mobile advertising? And are you working on a solution on that?
Oh, sorry, you broke up there.
Yeah, I was asking how will you try to develop some product around real-time bidding?
Yes, yes, we are. So that is a route that we're going down, and we hope to have some very exciting announcements about that soon. I think one of the really interesting features about RTB or programmatic buying or any of these situations where we're trying to remove humans and plug inventory and display together is, again, we're right at the very, very beginning of this journey. I know that some people think that this will actually shrink the available market for ad networks, because actually you don't need lots of different ad networks if everything is talking to everything else. I actually don't believe that. I think that what we're going to look at is this will be a catalyst for expanding the market as a whole. And in the same way that once magazines and newspapers and television grew, it didn't actually mean that there were fewer players. It actually meant that there were more players finding niches here and there. So I'm excited about that. I think that anything that brings efficiency and transparency to the market is really, really important, because that's what we're about at Appflood. And yes, those are fields we're working on right now.
Cool. And so, how do you see the French market in terms of size, both inventory and budget-wise?
Very strong, very, very strong. I mean, I think for us there are a number of key markets in Europe, both in terms of their size, so the number of activations that they have across handsets and the right sorts of handsets, then also in terms of the available budget that people have to spend. And by that I mean the users, so that in terms of lifetime user value, they can be of use for publishers. So we see France, first of all, as one of the largest countries in Europe, and secondly, with some of the most exciting players or app users out there. So it's a hugely important market.
So final question, what are your plans in terms of development in Europe and worldwide for 2014?
I hoped you'd ask that. It's a great question. So first of all, we will keep innovating Appflood. And that's an easy answer to say, and that's the sort of answer that everybody in my position is going to say, but it's absolutely true. We're going to keep innovating Appflood, we're going to keep pushing the transparency, and we're looking forward to working with more partners. I think the other thing that we're really, really well placed to do is, as a Chinese company, we have unrivaled relationships in China. The Chinese market is growing extremely quickly. And we're beginning to see some very interesting data come out of there in terms of smartphone activations. We've also seen a very recent deal with Apple, with some of the networks out there. And so what we're seeing is the consumer demand, the demand from developers, the demand from publishers to get into China. But because the Chinese market is so fragmented, actually that is not an easy thing to do. And at Papaya, what we're doing with Appflood is we'll be looking at making some announcements later on this year to do with making it easier for publishers and developers to access the Chinese market. So for me, there are two things. There is a product-based innovation, and then there is also what we can do with some markets that, quite frankly, developers and publishers just can't wait to access.
Great. Chris, thank you very much, and I hope you great success in Europe.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.